This is the Vivo V23. It's one of Vivo's newest mid-rangers, and like its Pro sibling, it has a focus on excellent selfie camera performance, and it has a slick new design. It's a little cheaper, a little smaller, and it has a little less power than the Pro version. But is it a better deal? I'm Andrew for GSM Arena, and this is our review of the Vivo V23 5G. The Vivo V23 has a flat screen and flat edges, and the camera island design is the same as on the Pro. It looks like Vivo has taken inspiration from Samsung and Apple, and then mixed these design elements all together with the phone's signature color, Sunshine Gold. This color is thanks to the V23's UV reactive dye that changes when exposed to sunlight or other UV light. It's fantastic. The paint can take from 30 seconds to a couple minutes for the color to change from golden to bluish green. You can choose to go with the more understated Stardust Black version of the phone, but either way, it's a great looking device. As a whole, the V23 is more comfortable than the Pro, which can slip out of your hand more easily due to its curved sides. The flatter aluminum frame of the V23 offers better grip, even without using the case. This means that you get to enjoy the soft, sandy feel of the fluorite AG glass on the back. It doesn't get greasy or dirty either, which is a nice plus. The buttons on this phone are a little clickier and more usable than on its sibling too. Thanks to the metal frame, it's a little heavier than the Pro at 181 grams if you get the Sunshine Gold version. On the front, you'll find a notch with two selfie cameras that isn't too obtrusive. It also hides a proper proximity sensor and a light sensor, which are better than virtual alternatives. The display is covered by Shot Sensation upglass, which is the same as what you'd find on the Vivo X70 Pro. It is a step down from the Vivo V23 Pro Sensation Alpha Glass though, which is said to rival Gorilla Glass Victus. The vanilla V23 doesn't have any formal ingress protection rating, so while it might survive a fall, you should keep this phone away from dust and water. There's an optical under-display fingerprint reader, which is snappy and reliable. As for the display itself, it has a slightly smaller 6.4-inch AMOLED panel than the 6.5-inch one on the Pro. The regular V23 has a slightly taller 20:9 aspect ratio and a slightly higher pixel density with 409 ppi. In person, there is not much of a difference between the two panels aside from the aggressive curves on the Pro. I prefer flat displays, but it's really up to personal taste. The only other difference of note is brightness. The V23 doesn't get as bright as the Pro, with a max of 629 nits, which makes it usable outdoors but not in direct sunlight. As far as color accuracy goes, the V23's colors lean towards blue, regardless of which color mode you use. You can try to adjust for that with the included slider, but it won't make a huge difference. The phone supports HDR10+ and HLG, and has the highest possible Widevine L1 DRM certification for higher streaming resolutions. The display handles refresh rates similarly to the one on the Pro, and while you have an auto refresh rate option, it's not reliable. So you should stick to either 90Hz or the standard 60Hz. There is a single bottom-firing speaker on the V23, and no headphone jack or FM radio support either. It's a bit of a letdown for a phone at this price, and the speaker itself is not overly impressive. It got an average loudness score on our test and had identical sound quality to the Pro, which is to say, okay.
I'm wide awake, but you're a nightmare. I can't escape, I'm seeing you everywhere.
This is a great time to mention that in some markets, the V23 supports NFC while the Pro version does not. The V23's 4200 mAh battery is respectable, and the phone made good use of its capacity, with 103 hours on our endurance tests. The 44-watt flash charger the V23 comes with also worked well. You can charge the phone from dead to 60% in half an hour. For a full charge, you need just over an hour, which is quite good too. The V23 has a MediaTek Dimensity 920 chipset and 8 or 12 gigs of RAM. Its closest Snapdragon competitors are the Snapdragon 860 and the 778G. While they beat the phone in terms of raw performance, it's a closer call in terms of overall CPU performance, and the phone holds its own as an excellent mid-range performer. Even with torture testing, the phone never got too hot, and while it's a step down in comparison to the Pro, it's reasonable, and the V23 runs very well. The Vivo V23 has Funtouch OS 12 on top of Android 12, and you can see some new Android 12 features here and there. Namely, Google's green notification dot, which indicates when the camera or mic is in use, and the more bouncy animations. Overall, Funtouch is a highly customizable OS with its very own flavor. If you're into stock Android phones, well, this is not it. Actually, many of the customizations Vivo has included are quite useful. System menus are tailored for single-handed use, and its default selection of widgets is more intuitive than before. You can choose between different themes, animation effects, and ambient light controls. There's also quick action features where you hold the volume down key to launch an app. Of course, you also have a dedicated Ultra Game mode that helps you mitigate disturbances during games, and lets you turn off the screen and keep the game running in the background. As far as cameras go, the V23 really shines in the selfie department. It's actually the same setup as on the V23 Pro. You get a 50 megapixel main camera with autofocus, an 8 megapixel ultrawide, and two dual-tone LEDs that are hidden in the corners of the frame. Vivo is calling these LEDs spotlights. Selfies are captured at 12.5 megapixels by default, and shots look fantastic. Detail is great, as is dynamic range. Colors were natural, and the background had pleasant bokeh. The wider selfie camera is respectable but less impressive in comparison. Its fixed focus plane is wide and forgiving, and the level of detail is nice. It's also wide enough to justify its inclusion next to the main front camera. That said, colors are duller and the dynamic range is narrower. In low light, there's plenty of detail, and noise is practically absent. Night mode on the V23's front camera works better than on the Pro, and we would often prefer it over the spotlight's illumination. The ultrawide front camera also held up well in the evenings. Shots are softer and noisier, but they don't disappoint. The spotlights near the top of the display work very well to illuminate your face and boost overall quality thanks to the better light. You can even shoot selfies in near complete darkness. 4K videos from the main front camera are stunning. Detail, colors, and dynamic range are all fantastic. The autofocus works well and doesn't hunt either. With EIS off, footage is decently steady, but if you're willing to shoot in full HD and accept a bit of crop, you can switch it on and enjoy even smoother videos. Videos from the ultrawide camera are less impressive in comparison. Their soft and dynamic range isn't stellar, but they aren't that bad. On the back, there is a bigger difference between the V23 siblings. Here, you'll find a 64 megapixel main camera, an 8 megapixel ultrawide, and a 2 megapixel macro cam. During the day, the main camera captures 16 megapixel bin photos. While good, they're not impressive. Colors are nice and not overly exaggerated, and the dynamic range and level of detail are fine too. On the other hand, sharpness isn't great. The sharpening algorithm doesn't help much by highlighting straight lines excessively, creating shots that look both sharp and fuzzy at the same time. Since there's no telephoto, zoom shots suffer from the same ills as the main camera. All the same, you can get a decent 2x crop. The ultrawide camera is also barely decent. The detail and dynamic range are not great, and we notice a lot of softness and a lot of over-sharpening artifacts. At least the colors are a close match to those from the main camera. The macro cam has decent detail for its small resolution and gets the job done, but don't expect miracles. In low light, the main camera can take some good, though overly processed photos, just like during the day. Actually, the over-processing looks more acceptable in low light shots, and the softness is comparable with the competition. There is a night mode which can salvage some shots from the main unit, though it's a toss-up whether you'll end up with cleaner and more natural shots or ones that have the same over-processed nature as regular low light snaps. The ultrawide camera struggles in low light, and we highly recommend the night mode for it. While photos are still soft, there's less noise, and they look better as a whole. The main camera can shoot videos up to 4K at 30 FPS, and the results are solid. There's plenty of detail, good colors, and no noise. The frame rate is steady too. Only the dynamic range could have been a little bit better. 2x zoom videos are a bit disappointing because Vivo decided to over-sharpen everything aggressively. They're also just cropped and upscaled versions of what the main camera outputs. The ultrawide can capture videos in 1080p. Their soft and dynamic range isn't stellar, but they aren't that bad. Colors are okay too. There's EIS on both the main and ultrawide cameras on the back, but there's also a super stabilization mode on the main camera that smooths out the video further. It's not perfect though, and it's up to you whether it's worth the resolution downgrade. The Vivo V23 starts at a more sensible price point than the Pro version, but it doesn't have as good of a main camera, and really it only has selfies going for it. If you want a phone with better overall value, there's plenty of competitors to choose from which have stereo speakers, ingress protection, and other features that this phone does not. That said, it does seem to have more appeal than its Pro sibling, and if you're looking for a good mid-ranger with great looks and good selfie prowess, and you're going to be creating a lot of social media content, then this one is worth considering. Thank you for watching everyone, stay safe, and I'll see you guys next time.